Good evening, you guys. It's your boy Bill Mahari here, represent Mahari Nation Sports Podcast. Welcome to episode 38 of Basketball Conversations right here on this channel. Much love to the entire LDBC and the entire basketball community. I hope you guys been having a good Saturday night. Hope you guys have been staying safe out there. You know what I'm saying? In the light of this whole pandemic thing. So hope you guys, can sit back and get entertained for the next half an hour to an hour, or whatever, as we discuss all the things in basketball. So we got a little special person in the chat here too, Mr. Brandon Nicholson, always first in the building. What's up, my brother? How you doing, man? He's got a lot of stuff going on for the Denver Nuggets right now. So, but we'll get into that in a few minutes there too. So, we're going to discuss about both conference finals. We're going to discuss the Eastern Conference and Western Conference finals. Then we're going to also discuss about the MVP conversation and about how LeBron basically was not happy about finishing second place again for the second straight season. LA Clippers faults. And then also we're going to discuss about Mike D'Antoni's, where he's going to coach next, and it might be a return with the Rockets. Interesting concept. And then finally, we'll round it up with talking about Russell Westbrook's future in the NBA, where his career will project in the next couple of seasons. So, with no further ado, you guys, let's get down to business here, shall we? So, what first we're going to discuss about on the list here, guys, is basically we're going to discuss about the Miami Heat at this point. Okay, so right now, the Miami Heat are looking really like an unstoppable force in the Eastern Conference Finals right now, even though they're down by 12 right now at the half in game three. Now, the one thing I will say about the Miami Heat is that, with the Heat, is that this is a team that's really catched themselves on all cylinders at the moment right now. And when you look at this team right now, starting with Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo, you also got, Jay Crowder, Duncan Robinson. You know what I'm saying? You got Chiro off the bench that can give you that gets giving you points. You know what I mean? I mean, you got all these guys right now that have really found their niche, in the postseason right now, and they're clicking on all cylinders. And it's really showed how they play good team defense. They play man-to-man zone defenses, and really they've been doing a good job of limiting the guards of the Celtics in the first two games of the series. Now tonight, obviously the addition of Gordon Hayward does help in terms of their versatility on their backcourt. Now the question for Gordon Hayward is going to be how well conditioned he's going to be. Now in the first half that I saw, he didn't do too bad. I probably could look at him at this particular point right now and think that he'll probably be, a bit winded because considering the fact that he hasn't played basketball in about 5 months. As I see more people coming into the chat, we got Marquise Johnson in the building and my brother, the Lewis Sports Network, in the building. Go check out his channel too, guys. His channel's off the chain, man. I'm telling you that. So right now, the way I look at this whole situation with the Miami Heat right now, I think that the Miami Heat is going to be a serious problem for either the Nuggets or the Lakers. Coming out of the West, because the way that they play defense, and plus they're really good at pushing the ball off its turnovers, and more importantly, they get to the free throw line a lot, and they shoot the ball from 3 point range very very well. From guys like Duncan Robinson and Gerald that can get hot at a moment's notice. And salute to Jimmy Butler, man, because Jimmy Butler's been playing the best basketball of his career by far, and he's taking a different approach, this time around. He's kind of preserving himself, letting his team get involved early in the game, and then asserting himself when he has to. That's true maturation. Because before, Jimmy Butler would try to take over the game from the opening tap, and to see a different maturation in Jimmy Butler is really amazing to see. And I must also take the time to give some major love to another brother who's been pretty much, you know, balling off in this entire series so far, and that is Mr. Bam Adebayo with the amazing rejection as you see right out top. I'll meet you at the rim. That's what Jason Tatum said, and then boom, swatted that thing out of there. I really like what a Bam Adebayo has been able to do. He's a very good, power forward who can, score in the paint. He doesn't look to try to, command the ball a lot, but he's so active on the on the defensive side of the ball. He can play man-to-man defense. He can basically play good help defense, and he's very active on the boards too. And so right now, if you're the Celtics, you got to continue to limit the offensive rebounding opportunities of the Heat, and also keep Duncan Robinson and Shiro off of that 3-point line in the hope that you build a sustained enough lead so that way that Jimmy Butler's going to have to expend a lot more energy than he has to. And so right now, I really like how the Celtics are playing here tonight, but we'll see how this continues on as the series progresses. I really like the Miami Heat's chances of winning the series between. I give them, maybe 6 games, because I think that the Celtics are going to really try to make a statement to try to, keep themselves into the series. But I think Miami is going to be able to figure this out and close it out in 6. Now, if when they do get to the finals, if they do, it's both the Lakers and the Nuggets are going to have to really figure out a way to try to, minimize their mistakes, because when Miami smells blood and they're able to, turn the ball over and really push the ball and force tempo, it really makes them a very dangerous team out in transition too. And the way they play defense, they really did a great job of, shutting down, the Milwaukee Bucks. Giannis was still able to get his numbers, but, they weren't as proficient in numbers as they were in the regular season. And it really showed in the series. So right now, the way I see it, you guys, I think that this is really going to be a very, very tough series. But I think Miami should be able to figure this out, in my opinion, at least. But yeah, that Bam at a bio block was amazing, because Jason Tatum had an open lane to the basket, and Bam Adebayo came out of nowhere to meet him at the rim, basically get the ball, but avoid touching his body. That was the big key in the block shot. Now, is it the greatest block shot in NBA history? That's going to be up for debate, because there have been a lot of great chase down blocks in history. You go back to 2016 in the NBA Finals when LeBron James rejected Andre Iguodala in a Game 7, and all the way back to 2004 when Tayshaun Prince of the Detroit Pistons, blocked Hall of Famer Reggie Miller for that game time layup in Game 2 of the Eastern Conference Finals. So they've been those are the two greatest examples of great chase down blocks. Now, I'm sure that Bill Russell had great chase down blocks during his time in the NBA. Unfortunately, there's not much footage of that. The only footage that I was able to see was Jerry West going in for a layup, and then Bill Russell came out of nowhere from behind to swat it into the first row at Boston Garden. But I really that great play of Bam Adebayo really is a symbolism of how much he has improved his game, because not many people realize how this guy really had to build his game from scratch, and really was a guy that many people felt that he wasn't going to be much of a factor in the NBA. But to see him, improve his game, prove his fitness, and continue and show his, high level defense is really a treat to see, to watch him grow. So it's going to be interesting to see how, he's going to continue to develop his game as as he moves forward in his career. But yeah, that's what I pretty much felt about the whole thing. Now, we're gonna get into the discussions here about the Western Conference Finals here, guys. As I start posting some pictures here about Mr. Anthony Davis throwing it down with some major force. So the the basically the LA Lakers took care of business in Game 1. They were pretty much on a long layoff, while the Denver Nuggets had to basically scratch from a 3-1 deficit in the first round against Utah, and then in the second round against the heavily favored LA Clippers. So the way I see in that whole series is that the Lakers right now, they are pretty much a team right now that are just fully rested and fully tooled to pretty much counter what the Denver Nuggets are able to do. Now, the big concern, if you're a Denver Nuggets fan, is that you're gonna have to find a way to get Nikola Jokic, better shots. You're gonna have to find a better way, to get Jamal Murray, better opportunities to work some screen and rolls to try to get him some open looks. Because what the Lakers were able to do was basically push pressure the ball on the point of attack, and more importantly, you know, make sure that that basically the guards are able to feel their presence. I'm talking about the Laker presence, pressuring the Denver guards. And with that being said, it basically slowed down the attack of their offense. But also, I think that in game one, you saw how much Anthony Davis, impacts the game. Nikola Jokic is a very awkward center, right? But he did. But basically, when you play a smaller lineup and put Anthony Davis at the center position, now you have to face against a multifaceted lineup instead of having another big man as your center and then pushing Anthony Davis at the power forward position. Now, I think that right now I think that the Denver Nuggets are a little bit overmatched in terms of what the Nuggets can what the Lakers can throw at them at this point. As Brandon Nicholson, the big brother, always says, if Denver don't learn how to defend without getting into foul trouble or rough up AD a little bit, the clock will strike midnight to the under Cinderella story. And I do agree with that. I think that what I need to see from Denver is more intensity on the defensive side of the ball. Basically the Lakers were able to run any play that they wanted, run lob passes, run, post ups for Anthony Davis, and basically Denver didn't really show much defensive intensity to try to, slow down the Laker attack. Now I will say that, coming off of a emotionally draining 7 game series against the Clippers, I'm sure that it has something to do with that. But you're going against LeBron James, you're going against Anthony Davis, two of the best players in the NBA right now. You can't afford to have any bad lapses, because if you do that, they're going to make you pay for it, and they're going to punish you if you don't bring the necessary intensity needed at this particular point of the season. And so Anthony Davis right now really showed, his value to the team. He's really showed the ability to, you know, work inside into the paint, execute, alley-oop plays with LeBron James. And more importantly, you guys, I think that Anthony Davis is now starting to find his niche now in the postseason. It took him a while to really get things going, but I think Anthony Davis is playing as the player that they were expecting him to be, coming into the season. There's no layoffs from this guy, especially when you're playing with LeBron James. So, with Anthony Davis, I think that's really going to be helpful. And also, I would like to see more of Jamal Murray with pick and roll sets and really try to exploit the interior defense and try to put some more pressure on the Laker backcourt, because when Jamal Murray got himself in the foul trouble, it really hurt the Denver Nuggets attack. He's their best, penetrator and best scorer off of those pick and roll plays with Nikola Jokic. So I think that right now, I think that the Nuggets are going to have a lot of work to do to try to, figure things out. But I will say that they are a battle tested team. I mean, listen, this Nuggets team, battled back from very huge deficits. And you're not just gonna be able to bully these young guys, because they've really much been shown that they can bounce back from different situations. But again, they went up against the Jazz, who only had to worry about Donovan Mitchell. Then you go against the Clippers, that were basically a shell of themselves. And now you're going against a united, cohesive LA team that now believes that they can pretty much run the table in the series. So game two tomorrow is going to be very pitiful for them to try to really tie things up. I hope to see more of that, more of usage of Nikola Jokic inside the paint, and making sure that their key guys stay out of foul trouble. And if that's the case, I think that this could be a good chance to try to even this series up, because you can't afford to go down 0-2 against this great Laker team. It's just you're just not going to be able to beat them 4 straight times. It's physically impossible. Now, I will give the Nuggets credit of battling back, but at the same time, if you're going against LeBron James, you're going against Anthony Davis, very, very difficult situation. So we'll see what happens in terms of how the series will turns out. But let's go ahead and check out the chat real quick. We got the brother Frank Casa Foremost in the building. What's going on, brother? How you doing tonight, man? Much love, bro. So right now, I really think right now the Lakers. If you're the Lakers, you don't have to worry about making too many adjustments. Just stick to what you were pretty much doing, but expect a different type of Denver team on tomorrow night. I think that game one was pretty much a throwaway game considering how much energy the Nuggets had to spend against the Clippers. But I think that they understand the urgency of the moment in this series. They cannot afford to go down 0-2 against the Lakers. So that's just pretty much how I have in that whole circumstances of things. So the next thing I pretty much wanted to pretty much talk about was Mr. Giannis Antetokounmpo here. As I bring this out, just give me 1 second. Boom, there you go. So Mr. Giannis Antetokounmpo basically won the 2019-2020 NBA Most Valuable Player Award. And plus, he also won Defensive Player of the Year, which means he's become the third player in NBA history with Michael Jordan and Akeem Olajuwon to win both NBA Defensive Player of the Year and Most Valuable Player Award. Now, initially, Giannis basically did not want to accept his MVP award, considering how much the Bucks, finished, in the playoffs. But right now, I think that Giannis realizes that with all the awards that he's achieved right now, he needs to win a championship, and he's still young, but but I'm sure he realizes that the window of opportunities don't come too often, and if they can't figure this out, they won't be able to. But that's not what we're going to be talking about here. So the one thing that I'm going to be talking about is that I think that you know LeBron James was basically talking in the press conference, right? And this is really where I was a little bit agitated with LeBron once again. So he pretty much was talking to the media and was not happy at the fact that he basically finished second in MVP voting and only had 22 first place votes. Okay, now if you're LeBron James, I get that the fact that you're always going to be beloved in the MVP conversation. But here's the thing though in this whole matter. The one thing in this whole matter that you got to consider the fact is that this is a regular season, most valuable player award. This is a regular season award. It's not an entirely a award that's basically given out during the postseason. It doesn't work that way. Here's what I'm saying here, guys. Here's what I'm saying. All right. LeBron James, can feel what he wants to feel. But listen, you have basically standing around here complaining about the fact that you didn't win the MVP award. But listen, bro, you're focused on your mind and your whole demeanor should be focused on winning a championship. Damn the MVP awards. All right. You already have at least three to four MVP awards in your resume. So I'm like, bro, this is more pettiness coming out of LeBron James that I don't like. And you know what's even worse, though, guys? What's worse is that the fact that the fanboys and the media, like the Stephen A. Smiths and the Kendrick Perkins, were pretty much blasting at the whole process, talking about, oh, this is a crime. LeBron should always be the MVP and this, that, and the third. Like, bro, shut up. I'm not interested in that. All right. Giannis deserved those awards based on how he was able to perform throughout the entire regular season. All right. He helped lead the Bucks to the best record in the Eastern Conference during the entire regular season. All right. LeBron James and the Lakers, let's be real about this. He was second in the team in total scoring. Okay. He was second in blocks. He was first in assists. Anthony Davis was pretty much leading the team in every statistical category. If you want to talk about who should really be MVP, why not put the case about Anthony Davis? Because without Anthony Davis, listen, the Lakers would not be in the conference finals right now. I mean, you rewind back to last season, all right? When LeBron got hurt, all right? When he got hurt, yes, the team went to a downspin. But let's be real about something here. Even when LeBron was still healthy, they still were not a team. They were still not a championship caliber team. I don't really want to hear it. All right. When you had Anthony Davis on that team, it really changed the whole dynamic of the whole thing. And so, how are you going to sit here and whine about the fact that he basically missed out on another opportunity for the MVP? Now, listen, I do agree that the voting criteria changes a lot. I get that. There's certain voters that will vote on based on regular season, statistics, team performance for the best valuable player, or something else. I get the fact that the voting criteria is very unfair and is very, very biased. But still, at the end of the day, LeBron, just stop. Just stop. Worry about winning a championship and stop worrying about if you're going to win MVP or not. Sure, it might sting a little bit if you finish second place again, which I'm sure for his ego's sake that he doesn't like to finish second place to anybody. But bro, you should be worried about beating the Nuggets, and whoever comes out of the East, beat them to win the championship. That's pretty much is what it is at this point. And I'm just tired of this, bro. I'm so tired of this whining and this crying games. It's ridiculous. So let me check out the chat real quick before we progress. Hey, Terry Bogart, what's going on? He says Jimmy Butler can win a championship when he becomes a Laker. Well, I don't know. If the Heat go on to beat the Lakers in the finals, I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm just saying. What's going on, Mr. Big Chest? He said, "What's up, bro? Just got home from playing in a football game. Oh, that's cool, man. That's cool." Frank Guy says, LeBron wants to equal Jordan so much, he would have stayed in Cleveland. He would have had at least 6 or 7 MVPs already. He might. I think that a lot of it has to do with the fact that he, has been constantly moving around to team and always wants to control every single piece of the situation in one of his teams. I think that kind of rubs the media off the wrong way about that. Brandon Nicholson also said, I always thought Anthony Davis is the best player on the Lakers. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I don't get that LeBron. I don't get. Listen. I get a little bit of how LeBron would feel slighted about finishing second, but bro, if there's one guy that deserves that should be slighted the most, it's Anthony Davis. Without Anthony Davis, the Lakers would not be in the conference finals, even with LeBron. That's a fact. You know, listen, Anthony Davis, regardless of what you say about him, he is the most important player on the team. No doubt in my mind. Without Anthony Davis, you're not dreaming of any championships. That's pretty much it. All right. Frank Gasformo says, right, AD had a good argument for MVP more than LeBron. You got that right. That's what I'm saying. Anthony Davis should have been in the conversation. That's what I'm saying, bro. Brandon Nicholson says, I was called a hater when I implied that Anthony Davis was the best player on that Lakers team. Man, bro, these LeBron fan trolls will say anything to try to suit their fake narrative. They know for a fact that without Anthony Davis, LeBron is not in the playoffs. He's not in the conference finals, and he's not scratching another finals appearance. Listen, LeBron lost 6 NBA finals. I mean, how much more do you need to know? He lost 6 NBA finals. Michael lost 0. You're not gonna be able to chase down Jordan or beat him in championships. It's just not gonna happen. But that's where his motivation comes from. Terry Bogart says the Heat only won their third title because Ray Allen made the shots ever that saved LeBron's legacy. You're right. You're right. You're right about that. You're definitely right about that. I'm not going to argue with you about that. You're definitely right about that. That's another thing that LeBron fans don't want to hear either. So Terry, so you got that right. Mr. Big Chat says AD made the postseason twice himself in the West with New Orleans. That's right. Yep. If he wasn't injured that much, I think that the Pelicans could have done something with Anthony Davis, but now they got Zion Wilson to deal with. But that's just pretty much my point. Listen, these LeBron James fanboys in the media, they will say anything that they want. But listen, LeBron had a good year, but he wasn't. But listen, he didn't have that superstar level type year that warrants MVP. That belongs to Anthony Davis, and I'm disappointed that many of the media didn't even give Anthony Davis any shine in terms of that. That's just how I feel about the whole thing. You know what I'm saying? So that just is what it is. Now, with that subject out the way, let's make sure to keep things intact here. So the LA Clippers, once again, basically, faltered when it was needed, when it was needed the most. So let me switch things up a little bit. There we go. So the other thing that I've been noticing from the Clippers is this week was that you know, they basically are trying to, cover things up and try to, in the fact that they were supposed to get to the Western Conference Finals and meet the Lakers. Now, I'm sure most of you guys know about what Paul George said, but to remind a lot of you that haven't been tuning into this, Paul George pretty much talked about it in one of his press conferences after the game that it was that this for the team, it was not championship or bust year. And you sit there, and I was sitting there listening to this whole, press conference unfold, and I'm like, bro, what are you talking about? When this team was constructed, when you guys came to LA, the expectation was a championship. Are you mean to tell me that all of this was a lie, Paul? That you weren't guys really serious about winning a championship? Like, get out of here, bro. This is the losing mentality that I'm talking about with a lot of these star players. All right? Not with Kawhi. But although Kawhi did disappear in the last three halves, of games 5 through 7. So, he deserves a lot of heat for that. But my point is, though, guys, is that right now, the Clippers right now are basically falling into the same line that has been that way for decades. Okay, when the former owner Donald Sterling moved the team from San Diego to Los Angeles, the goal was to try to overtake the Lakers as the kings of LA. And unfortunately, because of the collapse of the Clippers, every time in the postseason, it always throws back in their face to the reality that the Clippers are pretty much not the team of Los Angeles. They've never been. They haven't even reached the conference finals in franchise history. All right, even as the Buffalo Braves, they've never even made it to a conference final. So listen, I'm tired of this all the excuses of what the Clippers been pretty much saying. And I'm not understanding why Doc Rivers is not fired as head coach. All right. Listen, I'm tired of this. I'm tired of the excuses of these Clipper fans are trying to justify. This team was supposed to win a championship and y'all failed. Y'all failed because your team didn't have the chemistry. They weren't playing together as a team. They didn't learn how to play with adversity, right? Even when they were up by double digits, when other teams came back, you saw more of a tentative Rockets team instead of a tentative Clippers team that was basically afraid of the moment. And that's surprising to me from both Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. All right. The point of this, though, guys, is that listen, the Clippers right now are going to have to make some serious roster changes. Okay. They're going to need guys that are not just hard workers, but guys that are willing to try to, improve the chemistry of the team. See, that was one of the big problems for the Clippers this year, team chemistry. When you got Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, playing under load management throughout the entire year, it's going to ruin the flow and the chemistry of your other teammates because they need to spend time with the star players to figure out what their roles are, how they can be effective, and how they can strategize in key situations. I just think that right now there's too many problems with the Clippers at this point. So let me go ahead and check out the chat real quick. Brandon Nicholson says Marcus Morris just needs to keep his mouth shut. Whatever he said to Paul Millsap to lit a fire that he torched the entire Clippers team. You got that right. What's up, Isaiah Ice? How you doing, my brother? Welcome, welcome. He said they act like they didn't have billboards. Proven are given. Streetlights over spotlights. We over me. Even Pat went up to the bar and said, "Y'all done." At a summer league game. Right, I remember that. But guess what? Y'all were the ones that played yourselves, and now you're sitting at home. What do you got to say about it? Brandon Nicholson says Clippers just showed the world why the Lakers will always be the kings of LA. Got that right. Listen, it's always been that way. You cannot justify this enough. The Lakers as an organization have consistently, put out the best teams out there, and they always had the best management that could figure out a way to navigate the roster and find younger talent to keep the winning tradition going. Something that the Clippers throughout their franchise history have failed to do. Now, I think that you're going to need to figure out a way to, you know, you're gonna have to find a way to cover up the key areas. To me, the front line needs help. Considering the fact that they were outscored like 187 to like 113 in those three halves, and shooting were below 20% from the field in those three halves of games 5 through 7 for if you're the Clippers, that's embarrassing to me. And the fact that Doc Rivers at halftime breaks makes no halftime adjustments really shows a lack of preparation on Doc Rivers' part. If I'm Steve Ballmer right now, I would pretty much tell Doc Rivers, listen, either you get this team to a conference finals or I'm getting rid of you because I'm getting sick and tired of always second place every single year. It's ridiculous. And I would basically agree with that. So let me go ahead and check out the chat real quick. As I says, salute though. Salute to you, brother. All right. So now look. All right. Paul George needs to get that losing mentality out of his head. All right. He, of all people, should know how tough it is to get to a conference finals, considering that he made 2 appearances as the star player for the Indiana Pacers. All right. And what's really frustrating to me about Paul George is that he's a very talented player. He's one of the best two-way players, but he doesn't play like that he's a star player. He plays like sometimes that he's a role player, and it really showed itself in the early rounds of the playoffs against the Mavericks when you saw in 2 out of the last 3 games he disappeared until he had good games in games 5 and 6 to close that out. But my point is that the Clippers right now they need their players, to spend some time together, talk about what happened this year, and try to improve the chemistry of the team because team chemistry is very critical to the success of a team. And right now, the chemistry of the team is very much broken. And they're going to need to figure out a way to reunite themselves once again and learn from this and not take the regular season for granted. That's pretty much what I saw throughout the entire year. So yeah, that's just pretty much my 2 cents about the Clippers right now. They're gonna need to figure out a way to better implement talent, and if Doc Rivers can't get it done next year, he's got to go. I'm getting sick and tired. Listen, I like Doc Rivers. I like what he stands for, but I'm talking about in terms of the whole coaching realm. I think that right now the Clippers really need to consider about letting Doc Rivers go if they don't get to a finals. That's just what I believe in. Okay, but right now, with that I set out the way, now I'm going to get to the other big subjects in hand here. So let's meet up with Mr. Mike D'Antoni here, shall we? So Mike D'Antoni right now, he resigned as the head coach of the Houston Rockets, and initially the earlier reports said he was one of the front runners for the job with the Philadelphia 76ers. But when I was reading an article, basically from Rockets Wire, okay, they pretty much talked about how Darren Moore said earlier that the series that retained D'Antoni was a top priority. So if if the if let's say if it Mike D'Antoni decides, oh, I want to come back to Houston, Daryl Morey will have no problem welcoming them back with open arms because of what the Rockets have been able to do with their backcourt. But listen, Mike D'Antoni has been given opportunity to try to get his team to a championship, and he has failed every single time. So what makes you think that with Mike D'Antoni as the head coach of the Philadelphia 76ers, it's only going to make them worse? In all sincerity, so yeah, that's just pretty much on that. Because listen, Mike D'Antoni right now knows that he's going to have various opportunities down the line, even though there's going to be some strong candidates that deserve the job way better than him. But you know, Mike D'Antoni with the Sixers, I mean, I just don't see it. To make this work in Philadelphia, you're going to have to unite both Embiid and Simmons to really play together and respect one another on the court to make this happen. And you know, of all the offensive records that Mike D'Antoni has set as coach, in all sincerity, he hasn't achieved winning a championship, and his refusal to make halftime adjustments and by just sticking to the whole scoring philosophy, is really costing him a lot of opportunities in his coaching career. So I think right now, I think that the Rockets right now are pretty much gunning to the possibility of bringing Mike D'Antoni back, but I don't think D'Antoni has any interest in coming back. He's probably looking for another opportunity to go somewhere else. But listen, I hope that Mark Jackson, Teron Lue, Alvin Gentry, actually not to Alvin Gentry, but yeah, Alvin Gentry, they have opportunities, to go and you know, become coaches. But it's not going to be easy because a lot of these executives have different agendas, and it makes it very, very difficult. But look, right now, I think that Mike D'Antoni, if he decides to return to Houston, it's not going to change anything to the fact that they're going to play they're going to play small ball throughout the entire year. They're going to try to get into a high scoring game, which they know they can't match, and they're going to get exposed once again. That's just it with Mike D'Antoni. He's not a good, coach to make adjustments. He's just stubborn to his own, principles, and it hasn't gotten it to where he wants to go, and that's a championship. And that's just pretty much the facts, you guys. So I don't know why, D'Antoni would even consider returning back to Houston. If that happens, that'd be shocking. But I don't think that, Mike D'Antoni would want to come back to Houston considering how much time he spent there to try to improve the team. But I think that right now, I think he notices that, that you're not going to have a better chance of winning a championship with James Harden and Russell Westbrook as your guards. That's pretty much what it is. All right, so let me check out the chat real quick. So Brandon Nicholson said, "I got a feeling that Montrezl is gone after hearing the report that he and PG got into it." Oh yeah. Now Montrezl does react on emotion, but he's not an out of control maniac. He's more of a guy that plays with energy and plays with passion. Reminds me a lot of the characteristics of Ben Wallace. But right now, the Clippers are going to have to find a way to improve the chemistry of the team. But let me stick to the whole principles here. So let me check out the chat. Franca says, "Yeah, I think one more year of Doc because this year it has been so unpredictable. I wouldn't give D'Antoni another year either." You got that right, and would love to see Mark Jackson as coach. See, he would be a good fit, but here's the thing: I don't think anyone in the NBA would want to deal with the baggage of his. But listen, if there's one guy that deserves a coaching opportunity, but anything else, is Mark Jackson. I mean, this is what it is with this dude. My goodness gracious, man. You know. All right. So lastly, before I, call it a day, I want to discuss about, with let me bring this out with Russell Westbrook. Now, with Russ, you know, with Russ, the one thing that I'm concerned about with Russell Westbrook is his long-term future in the NBA because with Russell Westbrook, he's basically a highly emotional player that reacts on emotion and sometimes doesn't react well with intelligence. Now, do I believe he's going to go into the Hall of Fame? Of course, he is going to go into the Hall of Fame, but I wouldn't push past anyone else to try to trade for him to try to get something out of him. All right. Now, Russell Westbrook won the MVP, one time and was a nine-time All-Star. So right now, you know, Russell Westbrook's going to have to find a way to, to reamp and change and adjust his game before he's before the calls start coming. Now, with that being said, there, guys. With that being said, with Russell Westbrook, the thing with Russell that's it's kind of brought my attention is how with the fact that playing together with James Harden and Russell Westbrook as your backcourt was going to create problems because both of them need the basketball to be effective. And I think that at this particular point too, that the Rockets are probably interested in trying to trade, Russell Westbrook. Now I don't think that's going to happen in actuality, but those kind of things, keep things in the loop. So I think that we'll see what happens, what how his game adapts. But I'm worried that if he continues to play the same way, his body's going to deteriorate, and more importantly, he won't have that same ability, to carry children or anything else in that matter. So I think that right now, I think that Russell Westbrook is going to have to try to adapt and change his game, or he may become the next story of Allen Iverson when Allen Iverson refused to come off the bench and basically said, "I'd rather retire than to come off the bench," which is an understandable thing. But you know the NBA is basically is a sports league, but it's also a business, and if you don't try to adore to their business practices, you get ripped for it. But anyway, Russell Westbrook wasn't the greatest shooter. He's a very explosive athlete, very good defender. But somebody that reacts too much on emotion. And if you just talk trash with Russell Westbrook, and and you score on him, Russ is not going to do anything. Russell always has been a guy that always wants to get you back on anything. That's why I always believe that if I ever get into a fight with Russell Westbrook, I would probably win. Probably get him upset, get him angry, and make him commit a mistake. That's pretty much who he is about him. But I think that right now, I think what I'm worried about with Russ is that the executives might treat Iverson, I mean Mr. Westbrook the same way that they did to Ray Allen. But I hope that's not the case. I hope not. XA Gucci 25 is in the building. What's up, XA Gucci? Salute, brother. Make sure to subscribe to this channel too. But yeah, AI refused to come off the bench and didn't change and adapt his game. So he pretty much got old and quietly retired from the NBA because not many teams were giving him the chance. The same with Tracy McGrady too, because Tracy McGrady never got his teams back past the first round, and unfortunately, this has not been the case in that matter. So Russ is going to have to be very, very careful about how he aligns himself, but also how he change up his game as he gets older, because you can't do the same thing over and over again, otherwise it gets too repetitive. So that just pretty much is what it is with Russell Westbrook. I wish him nothing but the best, and I hope that he gets another opportunity at an NBA Finals to win a championship, because he's definitely starving for one. I definitely agree with that. But with that being said, you guys, I'm gonna go ahead and close it off for the night and just go to bed, and get some sleep. So it's been a tiring day though, but I appreciate all you guys for your support and your love, on this channel though too, guys. It's been pretty much a lot of fun. But I'm gonna go ahead, and call it a night. So make sure to smash the like button on the way out too, you guys. It really does help the channel grow. So thanks to all the people in the chat for for their suggestions and their questions and everything else. And you know, keep them on coming. Keep them on coming. And if you ever want me to join you on a live stream or want to do a live stream with me, all you gotta do is hit the comment section below, and we can make something happen. But for now, I'm gonna go ahead and hit the hay and call it a day. But I appreciate all the people that's been with me, since day one. You know what I'm saying? But this is Abil Mahari, represent MehariNation Sports Podcast for episode 38 of Basketball Conversations. Much love to the entire LDBC, and we out. Have a good night, guys.